Opinion: Why PM Modi's visit to Gangaikonda Cholapuram irks Dravidian exclusivists? Before Prime Minister Narendra Modi visited the Brihadiswarar temple at Gangaikonda Cholapuram last weekend, how many Indians knew about its existence? How many clever ones thought he had visited the one in Tanjavur with the same name and just got his geography mixed up? How many knew that Emperor Rajendra Chola had conquered territories northwards right up to the Ganga and built a temple and capital to commemorate it? Cheerleaders of the cynical ideological campaign to assert that North and South India have no common cultural and religious beliefs and were only artificially united by the Mughals, and then the British would want ignorance to prevail. They would want more people to believe that there was no India before the British, or at least not before the Mughals. Modi's visit there, however, has turned the spotlight on some facts that bust that long-standing divisive narrative. Gangaikonda Cholapuram, even though it is now just a nondescript town in Tamil Nadu with one majestic temple jutting out into the sky, is a testament to the importance of Ganga, sacred North Indian river and deity even in Dravidian South India. The current dispensation in Tamil Nadu will also not be pleased by Modi focusing attention on a place and a king whose reverence for a northern Indian entity bespeaks a cultural confluence contrary to its political stance. The great conqueror and administrator Rajendra Chola thought his victorious northern campaign was important enough to build an entirely new city, even though his father had embellished the earlier capital Tanjavur with a grand Shiva temple with the same name less than 2 decades before. But the grand capital he named Gangaikonda Cholapuram after himself in his new avatar as the Chola who had captured the Ganga was decimated once the Cholas lost power. But while it was there, it was magnificent. There are references in Tamil literature of multi-storied palaces, grand gateways, avenues, and even highways named after Rajaraja and Rajendra Chola connecting the city with other parts of the kingdom. And every Chola ruler thereafter was crowned there, even if he decided to rule from elsewhere for some time. And the grandest assertion of the widespread power of the Chola dynasty was the creation of Kolagangam. Nilakanta Sastri, in his seminal book The Cholas, cited the Tiruvalangata copper plates to assert that Rajendra Chola commissioned a liquid pillar of Victragangajalame Amj Astamham in his new capital in the form of the tank, which came to be known as Kolagangam. Contemporary Tamil literature chronicles that representatives of all the kingdoms he conquered were ordered to bring Ganga water in golden pots and pour it into the vast tank. The sanctified tank was created to serve the new imperial city, fill its protective moat, and irrigate nearby fields by diverting water from the Koladam river. When full, it used to have a water spread of 130 square kilometers, but the grand man-made lake, the largest in the subcontinent for many centuries and a shining example of Chola engineering and water management, has now been bifurcated by a state road and lies depleted and choked due to neglect from the colonial era onwards. So it was no coincidence that a few days before last week's visit by the PM, Tamil Nadu's Chief Minister M.K. Stalin, suddenly woke up to Rajendra Chola's birth anniversary, celebrated as the Adai Thiruvatharai festival, to announce a Rs 19 crore project to revive the water body and build tourism infrastructure there. The PM then also released a commemorative coin at Gangaikonda Cholapuram and announced statues of the father-son duo, Rajaraja I and Rajendra Chola. An imminent tug-of-war over the Chola legacy seems inevitable between the centre and the aggressive Tamil Nadu state government, determined to assert Dravidian exclusivism and encourage a disconnect from all things North Indian. What the ruling Dravida Munnetra Kazhagam DMK's ideologues will find tough to brush under the durry, though, is the huge importance of North India's premier and revered river Ganga for Rajendra Chola and all his descendants. For as long as the Chola dynasty lasted for the next 256 years, there was a powerfully symbolic Ganga in the south, albeit as a tank, in its capital city. And many copper plates and stone inscriptions of Chola rulers, and even those of the Pandya and Vijayanagara rulers who came later, record villages handed over for tax-free maintenance of the Gangaikonda Kolaswarar temple in the no-raised city. The lake was renamed Ponari Golden later, during the Vijayanagara era. Shiva as Gangadhara, holder of the Ganga, has been praised in Tamil literature of that time, notably in the Thiruvazapa compositions of Karuvar Devar, who lived during the reigns of Rajaraja and Rajendra Chola. Interestingly, in the war poem Kalangatapurani by Jayan Kandar, based on the victorious Odisha campaign of Kuladanga I Rajendra Chola's grandson in 1110, Gangaikonda Cholapuram is mentioned simply as Gangapuri. The river and the city were inseparable. There is no clarity on what or who caused that imperial city to be razed except for the temple, but more was lost than just fine examples of Chola architecture, obviously. Some will believe that the Pandya who vanquished the last Chola ruler and retook control of the region in 1279 destroyed the city, but why then would there be inscriptions of later Pandya donations to the temple, and why is there no epigraphic evidence of such a vengeful act by any of the Pandya rulers? A more plausible explanation, at least for the initial decimation of the temple capital, could be the marauding Islamic armies of the rising Delhi Sultanate, first by Malik Kafur in 1311, Isra Khan in 1314, and then Muhammad bin Tughlaq in 1327. Even if everything had not been flattened, the temples and palaces would have been impoverished by the invaders carrying off their riches, and their primacy would never have recovered despite some later donations from the Vijayanagaram monarchs. By the time the Nawab of Irks armies reached there during the 18th century, the magnificent multi-storied Chola palaces, commercial buildings, and public infrastructure had become mere piles of stones. No wonder the British East India Company's army used the temple premises as a garrison and also helped themselves later to the giant stones of the temple's periphery, the city's boundary fortification, and even the Bund wall for their own engineering projects. The Tamil Nadu government is conducting excavations in the area surrounding the Gangaikonda Koleshwarar temple, now called Brihadiswarar, like the one in the earlier Chola capital, Thanjavur Ariyalur, to unearth the city Rajendra Chola built after capturing the Ganga. This probably has much to do with the designation of both Brihadiswarars along with Airavachwara in Darasuram as a UNESCO World Heritage Site, as they are great living Chola temples. Swipe left for next video. Hopefully, more inscriptions will also be found to add to the information already garnered from those on the walls of the Gangaikonda Koleshwarar temple and throw some light on how, when, and why the city around it was destroyed and or left to crumble. And also, perhaps, reveal why the Kolagangama holy tank befitting its consecration by Ganga water became merely Panari golden in a millennium, thereby obliterating a very evocative north-south cultural bond. The author is a freelance writer. Views expressed in the above piece are personal and solely those of the author. They do not necessarily reflect NEWS18's views. Latest blogs.